Hey, welcome back to Bahal Recap. Today we're diving into one of the most explosive, mind-bending crime dramas ever made, Breaking Bad. What happens when a dying chemistry teacher flips the switch and becomes the most feared drug kingpin in the Southwest? Brace yourself for a high-stakes descent into the criminal underworld, where loyalty breaks, empires rise, and danger is just one bad choice away. This is the story of Walter White. And once you're in, there's no going back. Let's cook. The story happens in New Mexico, USA. A flowing pair of pans falls from the sky, crushed mercilessly by a speeding RV. The camera shifts inside the vehicle, showing our main character, Walter White, stark naked, recklessly barreling through a desert wasteland. One careless moment. The car veers off the road and gets stuck in a deep ditch. Furious, he throws his gas mask aside, pulls out a camera, tears streaming down, speaking with raw emotion. Suddenly, urgent sirens wail from the distance, growing louder. Wearing only white briefs, Walter slowly walks to the road's center. With a determined gaze, he raises a handgun. But this all started 3 weeks earlier. That day was Walter's 50th birthday. After getting up, his pregnant wife thoughtfully prepared breakfast, a plate forming the number 50 with plant-based bacon. Yet his son, who suffers from polio, was unhappy with this meal. After breakfast, Walter heads to school. He's a dedicated, honest chemistry teacher who once contributed to a Nobel-winning project. Chemistry is Walter's only true faith, and he tells his students chemistry is like magic, absorbing and fascinating. Still, Chad, sitting in the front row, seems more interested in his girlfriend. To afford baby formula, Walter works a second job after school at a car wash, handling the register. His boss, who looks like Crayon Shin-chan but is harsh, tries to squeeze Walter dry, expecting one person's pay for two people's work. He often sends Walter to wash cars, including one belonging to Chad, the very student he scolded in class. Facing the two's mockery, Walter swallows his pride and keeps working silently. After a long day, he opens his front door and is startled to find his wife has gathered the family to celebrate his birthday. But Walter's brother-in-law, Hank, can't help but boast, flaunting his DEA agent status. Meanwhile, Walter's presence is totally ignored, making him feel invisible and insignificant. Hank wasted no time after drinking, turning on the TV so everyone could see the news about a recent drug bust. Walter White watched, stunned by the piles of cash shown on screen. Hank chimed in, saying drug dealing might be a fast way to make money, but crossing him would be a huge mistake. He even joked about showing Walter the ropes someday. The next day, Walter felt dizzy and fainted at the car wash while working. When he came to, he was already in an ambulance. At the hospital, after thorough tests, the doctor delivered grim news. Walter had advanced lung cancer and didn't have long to live unless he underwent chemo. But Walter seemed to block it all out, silently fixing on a mustard stain on the doctor's collar. Back home, he hid the diagnosis from his wife because they barely managed daily expenses, let alone expensive treatment. Feeling lost and helpless, Walter went to work, where his boss kept piling on tasks. Finally, Walter's long-suppressed anger exploded. After getting home, a lost and gloomy Laubai sat by the pool. His brother-in-law Hank called, saying he'd take Laubai out to broaden his horizons tomorrow. Early next morning, Hank, wearing cool sunglasses, played it cool beside the nervous Laubai as they watched a drug bust unfold. Inside, a guy in a hoodie was wild, creating art, when cops burst in and cuffed him on the spot. Hank and his partner checked things out, leaving Laubai alone to watch the car. Suddenly, Laubai caught sight of someone on the roof diving down like a pro from 3 meters up. Fixing his gaze, he recognized his former student, Xiaofin. Jesse was stunned to see Walter and immediately bolted. Neither realized their lives were about to become forever intertwined with earth-shattering consequences. Late at night, Walter tracked down Jesse's place using info he'd registered at school. Jesse thought Walter was there to convince him to turn himself in, but Walter surprised him by saying, "I want to work with you." Walter claimed he was a pro in chemistry, but Jesse thought he'd lost it. Walter laid it out. "You got two choices, work with me or I report you." Seeing Walter wasn't joking, Jesse reluctantly agreed. Early the next day, Walter broke into the school and stole a big stash of chemical reagents. Jesse wasn't impressed, saying making art didn't need all this complicated stuff. Walter fired back. "Your stuff's trash. I'm making high-end products. Top-notch chemical art like what's promised in ads." Even though they had the materials, the making process had to be under wraps. After some talk from Jesse, Walter handed over all his savings to buy an RV. Curious, Jesse asked why a struggling Walter was cooking meth. But Laubai had no idea Xiaofin blew all the money. Worried about missing their deadline, Xiaofin thankfully got help from their friend, Fat Guy, who helped steal his family's RV to keep the plan on track. At dusk, Laubai followed Xiaofin to a remote, deserted spot to cook their product. As Laubai stripped off his clothes, he said, "I just don't want to bring that meth smell home." Being a top-notch chemistry expert, Laubai produced a batch so pure it looked like flawless crystals. Xiaofin was stunned and praised it as purer than any product he'd seen. Laubai calmly called it average quality. They then discussed how to sell it. Xiaofin packed a small chunk, ready to contact distributors. He found a guy called Fengquang Xiaoba, whose cousin was a recently arrested drug dealer. The cousin mistook Xiaofen for a buyer, but Xiaofen just tossed him a bag of the crystal. Knowing Xiaofen couldn't make that quality, they teamed up with the freshly bailed cousin to teach him the ropes. To show good faith, Feng Kuang Xiaoba pulled out a big bag of cash from the car. Then, the cousin inside the car recognized Lao Bai and said, "He helped cops arrest us yesterday. I suspect he's an undercover cop." He pulled out a gun. Xiaofen panicked, shouted at Lao Bai to run. Xiaofen stumbled on a rock and passed out. The Fengba brothers, planning to kill Lao Bai and Xiaofen, agreed on one condition. Lao Bai must hand over the recipe to stay alive. Desperate, Lao Bai stretched out his hand for red phosphorus, then suddenly tipped it into a heated beaker. The red phosphorus glowed brightly and released deadly toxic gas. Just one breath would be fatal. Seizing the moment, Lao Bai dashed off the vehicle and fought to hold the car door closed. After a burst of gunfire, everything inside fell silent. Walter, done checking Jesse's wounds, turned and was stunned to see the cigarette butt tossed by his cousin ignite the licorice. Flames quickly got out of control. Walter grabbed Jesse and rushed out. The risk he took in cooking meth was all to secure a big nest egg for his wife, kids, and unborn baby before he died. But his plan hadn't succeeded yet. Then sirens blared nearby. In panic, Walter sped onto the highway, only to have his car stall. Nowhere left to run. This brought us back to the start of the story. Inside Walter, a fierce battle raged until he finally mustered the courage to shoot himself. But fate wasn't ready to take him yet. The sirens grew louder as Walter stood by the road, defeated and resigned. But instead of cops, a fire truck arrived, drawn by the blaze. Confused, Walter watched the fire crew drive away with disbelief written all over his face. Then Jesse snapped out of it and joined Walter, looking even more stunned. Their wild journey was just beginning.